All right, so yesterday was long. I realized that, and that's why I stopped it at physician-assisted suicide because it would have, we've gone on longer than that, and we would have lost probably after the 20 minutes from yesterday's video. But today I want to finish up with the material on medical ethics and address some issues that, because of the medical expertise and technology we have in the United States, that you have things that we never thought would have ever been able to be done. So we're going to take a look at those, but I want to remind you that you have an article due this article is due today. Today is May 7th. You also have your test on medical ethics tomorrow. Your study guide is already on Moodle, and there may be by the end of the day a Kahoot. You're also going to have the project that you're going to have, your final project that you're going to have, will also be up later this afternoon. So I just want to kind of prepare you for that. So going on with what we touched on yesterday with the idea of assisted suicide. Here we're talking about the fact that somebody who is sometimes it could be a persistent vegetative state. It could be Alzheimer. It could be the latter stages of cancer. It just could be, any type of terminal disease. And basically what they do is that in certain states, and we'll take a look at the states that allow this to happen, is that, they can go to a medical facility and that it's almost like in prisons now when somebody is going to have the death penalty where it's lethal injection. And basically what they do is that they go there, they're hooked up to an IV, and then they have medical personnel, physician will inject medicine into the IV, which basically terminates the person's life. It's kind of, and this is a kind of a graphic way, kind of an impersonal, kind of a lack of respect way, maybe of saying this, but it's kind of like when you put your pet to sleep, or like if a racehorse needs to be put down. I mean, that's kind of the same thing. And again, it's a lethal injection, and in these states it's legal. But one of the things that we need to understand is that this all started quite a while ago with a guy by the name of Dr. Jack Kevorkian. He was up in Michigan, and he's the one that kind of began this whole thing, and that he was able to do it. And basically, the difference was in that case is that he didn't actually inject the medicine. The person did it themselves. So technically, Dr. Kevorkian wasn't assisting him. He was, though, because he was providing with the medicine. He was also hooking them up to the IV. But then they were the ones that were actually injecting the medicine into the IV that would eventually end their lives. So he started this, and actually at one time he was charged with I think it was involuntary murder and manslaughter, and he actually was tried, and I think he actually spent some time in prison with regard to that. But this is kind of where we've gone in our society with this lack of respect for human life. And as I said yesterday with Cardinal Bernardin, was that he specifically focused on the idea that suffering does not diminish the quality of somebody's life. And we're talking about euthanasia, and that this does not justify taking another person's life. So obviously you can tell that the church is going to be opposed to physician-assisted suicide. All right, now in the United States, most of the states in the United States are opposed to physician-assisted suicide. Down below you'll see a list of the states in which physician-assisted suicide is legal, and also Washington, D.C., which is not a state, but it's obviously a district. It's a separate entity. But you can go to these areas and you can have physician-assisted suicide. Now, one of these that I want to mention, probably one of the most famous cases of physician-assisted suicide is by a young woman by the name of Brittany Maynard. Brittany Maynard had the same pediatric brain cancer that Lauryn Hill had, and she knew as a young, healthy woman, she was in her 20s. She was married. That she knew that because she was strong, she was athletic, she was kind of like Lauryn Hill. Again, she was an athlete. That she could survive for a while with disease, and she knew what the end game was going to be. She was going to die as a result of this disease, and there wasn't anything she could do about it because there is no cure for this pediatric brain cancer. And so what she did is she moved from a state that did not allow for physician-assisted suicide to a state that did allow physician-assisted suicide. And so she established residency in the state, and then, which I think is kind of weird that she did this, but on her husband's birthday, I believe it was November 1st, it was his birthday, November 1st, that she actually had this procedure done. So, I mean, one of the things that, you think about for her husband is that that's something that he's going to remember for the rest of his life, that his wife died on his birthday. So, again, in the eyes of the church, this is a direct violation of respect for life, shall not kill. And again, that suffering does not diminish the value of human life. All right, so we've got 2 more points to address, and then we'll end this, and then you guys can prepare for your test tomorrow. So one of them is cloning, and in the United States, cloning of human beings, and really most throughout the world, generally speaking, is cloning is illegal, right? It's against the laws. It's against natural law. And basically, if you don't know what cloning is when you take genetic material of one person and then you try to create a mirror image of that person. This was done in Family Guy. There was also a movie that was out back in the 1970s or 80s. It was called The Boys from Brazil. And what they had tried to do was they took the genetic material of Adolf Hitler, and that they tried to bring about another Adolf Hitler. And they had these clones, so to speak, throughout different countries in the world. And so basically, what the movie was the trying to find these clones. And what they tried to do is they tried to create the exact environment in which Adolf Hitler was raised for these clones that they had. So, it was a movie that tried to, again, deal with that whole situation and with this whole concept of cloning. Now, cloning has been done in with animals. Dolly the sheep was an animal that was cloned, and there were some issues with that. I mean, the clone was smaller, and I don't think it lived as long as the original sheep. But this is something that has been tried. You can do it with vegetation and things like that. But for human beings, this is a no-go. And the last thing is stem cell research. Now, there's nothing wrong with stem cell research, but the issue with stem cell research for the church is that the stem cell research that is being done is on fetal stem cells. And the problem with using fetal stem cells is that these are stem cells that are acquired through abortion. So since the church is opposed to abortion, obviously they're going to be opposed to this whole idea of stem cell research on aborted fetuses. Now, there's been a lot of research that has been done on using adult stem cells, and the idea with stem cell research is that if you have an injury, so let's say there's a spinal cord injury, and because stem cells, especially when you're talking about, and this is their theory, when you're talking about fetal stem cells, is that they take these stem cells, right, and they would inject them into the injured area, and that the stem cells would hopefully regenerate the area that has been damaged. So again, like if there's a spinal cord injury, that they would inject the stem cells into the injured area, and that the stem cells would then attack the, I don't want to say attack, but they would go to the area of the injury, and that they would repair the damage that was done. I mean, you can't. One of the issues is that with, like, especially spinal cord injuries, that you can't repair the spinal cord. That's why you have people that are, could be paralyzed from the waist down because of car accidents, and some types of neck injuries and things like that. So these are things that are out there, and these are things that are moving forward. This is one of the things that there has, and I've seen, and again, I don't know yet because it's still in the early stages of this. But there's also talk that they're using some types of cells from aborted fetuses to try to come up with a vaccine for the coronavirus. So these are things that are being done, and again, there's questions of whether it is right or wrong, and society and the church, they're gonna battle back and forth on this. So that's it for this material on medical ethics and laws and ethics. And again, as I said, an article due today, May 7th, and the test tomorrow, which is Friday, May 8th. And like I said, by the end of the day today, we will have the post of your explanation of the project that you're going to have to do for the end of the year, the last project that you're going to have to do, the last thing that you're going to have to do for morality. So, as always, you guys stay safe and stay healthy. Have a good day.